Going paralyzed.
The Mask was in the basement of a porno theater, the Pussycat Theater on Hollywood Boulevard, in a really, really rotten area of Hollywood that was crawling with hookers and drug addicts. When you went to a show, even though there were a lot of rooms to the Mask, they were small rooms. So even if there was only 50 or 100 people there, everyone would be all squished together, and it would be really sweaty and really loud and bashing into each other and doing the pogo, which was just like basically jumping up and down for an hour. There wasn't the whole mosh pit thing came later, and to me was sort of like this artificially created thing that came from more of like when I was a punk rocker, when we old-timers were doing punk rock, it was like you were just all fucked up on pills and booze and stuff, and you just naturally were falling into each other, right? So, and it was like a lot more like enthusiasm and happiness than sort of this, later on it turned into this whole like macho thing where the guys would get out there and like slam heads together or whatever. Everyone was pretty young. I would say like from teenage to maybe mid-20s. Was, you know, you were pretty old if you were in your mid-20s, and everyone was kind of like into the whole homemade thing, because there wasn't really, you couldn't buy like real punk clothes like they could in London. And I remember seeing pictures from over in London, and it was just so impressive. Like it just seemed so organized and so real, and this was more like, much more like this homemade scene. And there was very few of us at first. I mean, maybe 50 or 100 kids or something, and maybe it spread to a few hundred people, but it was a really, really tiny scene. And when I think back on how influential that little movement was just on the future of rock in general, I think, wow, how amazing is that? Because there was really not that much to it. And I remember as a punk rocker in like the late 70s that you never thought that punk was the be-all and end-all. I mean, God, if someone had told me it would still be going on in 1999, I would not have believed it. But the idea of like punk as like a genre surviving was just ludicrous, because it was sort of like this totally like homemade, self-created, self-destructing, disposable thing. You know, it wasn't meant to like last.